Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, still taking issue with Batman Eternal. Last week, we closed on issue 24, which was something of a departure from the rest of the series in that it had one cutaway to a different subplot. The rest of the issue mostly focused on the spoiler, Stephanie Brown, clashing with her father, the Clue Master, Arthur Brown, resulting in Clue Master getting arrested. And it was a bit of a victory for Stephanie Brown. Showed she was still a capable and fairly competent crime fighter. But we'll just have to see how that plays out in the rest of the series.
Issue 25, James Tynion IV on script. Jason Bard has gone to the Gotham Gazette, telling Vicky Vale that the mayor laughed him out of the office, refusing his idea of martial law. Vicky doesn't like the idea of posting sensationalist headlines to influence an elected official, which seems fairly topical these days. Chaos would be unleashed and people could die. Bard insists the coordinated attacks will get people killed. Posting the story is the only way to save Gotham. Sure enough, the next headline reads, "Multiple terror attacks imminent across Gotham," with the noticeable addition of "City government refuses to act."
Do they really think anyone is going to believe this nonsense? Not the thing about the attacks, but that government not doing anything counts as news.
After 24 hours, probably because Bard told Vale what's the worst that could happen, rioters are tearing up the streets, because the tremors from a couple issues back didn't do that well enough. Two thugs are attempting to take a jug of water from a young girl, not caring that her mom needs it. A couple tasings later, they're out thanks to Harper Row, accompanied by Red Robin. As the girl takes off, Red R reaches for her stun gun, saying that since he's trained her in Tokyo, she doesn't need it anymore.
Right, she got all the sufficient training she needed to survive riots in Gotham City, well known for being so crime-ridden and violent. It makes it really believable since we don't actually see the training, and they never mention how long the training actually took, even though it couldn't have been more than a couple of days. Screw you, comic.
She responds by flipping him over and aiming her taser at him, saying she likes her toys and can whoop the rich boy any day of the week, because she knows he's loaded or something? Even if you assume the Batman Inc. connection, that doesn't make Red Robin rich since it's still Wayne's money. Anyway, Red Rob clicks something in his glove, which launches something from his emblem that wraps around and restrains Harper. Too bad it didn't cover her mouth. After a moment's smugness, he gets a call from Jason saying something's happened. We jump to the cave below Wayne Manor, where Julia is snarking about the decor. Batman needs her to focus, but she's not sure what on, given the 13 riots across Gotham, including some damage to the beacon. Bat says that Hush, who is behind everything, is still out there, and the only reason he's permitting Penny too to use the cave is to have someone who can keep their eye on everything. Julia, bragging just a little, says she obtained the footage of who released the architect, but isn't there to be his receptionist. She patches the footage in through his cowl instead of the car monitor, but hey, he can see it, right?
Because who needs peripheral vision when you're driving through streets likely to be occupied by rioters and the very solid debris they may be leaving behind?
Video reveals Commissioner Bard, so Batman decides to make a house call. Red Robin arrives at Gotham Mercy Hospital through the window, where Jason Todd, in full Red Hood getup minus the hood, is sitting with Alfred when he pulls a gun on Tim because, I don't know, he got surprised or maybe because he's an idiot. Alfred's brain was injected with pure fear toxin, and he's in an induced coma, otherwise he wouldn't stop screaming. Funny, he didn't do much screaming when he was injected earlier, but hey, it took a while, I guess. In a visual medium, why would you show instead of tell? Tim notes that the attacks are hitting closer to Bruce's heart, and it doesn't help that the events of Death of the Family have prevented them from acting like a unit as before. This is one of those things that should sound serious, but because of the reboot, there isn't much context for times before that particular Joker attack. They need to work together, but Jason wonders if Tim could inform Barb. They have this awkward back and forth, hinting at Jason keeping both eyes on Barb, and how Drake was training with some girl with crazy hair in his nest. More telling when they should be showing. But it'd be more Harper, so catch-22? Tim finds the conversation inappropriate, but Jason claims that's the kind of normal Alfred always wanted for them. Red Robin contacts Harper to get Batman's location because of course she can do that.
Quickly, Harper, before readers realize just how unnecessary and unoriginal you are.
In Midtown, Batman crashes through Bard's apartment window, only to find Hush. Well, his hologram taunting a few failings and that he hasn't even started tearing his life apart. But enough of that. Barbara Gordon is on the phone with her dad, confused as to why he's still locked up. She claims a friend on the force said Bard went to see him a couple days back, but Jim only confirms that Bard was there, just not to see him. Besides, he'd rather talk about what's going on with Barbara's life, like who's taking care of her, or maybe if she's gotten any missed calls from loser sociopaths.
Calls are the only thing about Jason Todd people should miss.
Barbara's taking care of herself, but seems too distraught to continue the conversation, so they exchange I love yous and hang up. Barb's cell buzzes, and she tells Jason that her dad is still incarcerated and she needs some space. It's actually Red Robin telling her to suit up for a chat with the boss.
Bruce Springsteen? Wow, Batman Inc. really went all out for membership. He won't even do a guest voice on The Simpsons.
Pointy Ears is still chatting it up with Hollow Hush, who says that after so long of the Bat molding the city into something that works for him, it's time for everything he never deserved to be taken away. He shows a picture of Batman entering the building, insinuating that it'll go to the Gazette, and that one of his proteges is getting close and must be taken care of. Hush concludes by saying that he isn't trying to kill Bruce at the moment, that this is just another trap he dove into. He fades away, and at the tap of a screen that hilariously reads "Boom Now," an explosion rips apart the building. Julia tries to get a read on his vitals, but the computer isn't responding. She hears Red Robin over the comm system. Saw the explosion. Family en route.
Right. Tim's the younger brother, Babs is the older sister, and Jason is the creepy relative no one wants around anyway.
At City Hall, the mayor is informed that Bard's place went kablooey. Hades starts to panic, what with the riots and now their hero cop dead, but not so much. Bard stumbles in, claiming a narrow escape, but says the conspiracy is now targeting officials, so the mayor could be next. He reiterates the need for the power to bring order to Gotham, and Hades complies, telling his assistant Robert to call the governor and the press. It's time to declare martial law. At Bard's former dwelling, Batman weakly calls for Penny 2 to get the car to his location, but the order is belayed. Batgirl, Red Hood, and Red Robin are there already. We've got this.
But we're still totally gonna need that car. And, does anyone here have any medical training? Oh, real funny.
Issue 26, Tinian still scripting, has Julia doing her best to patch Bruce up in the cave. He walks to a glass case holding a bat suit, intent on heading back out, but is stopped by a throwing blade chucked at the suit. Red's Robin Hood and Batgirl want to confer with Batman, get on the same page, and Julia apparently needs to get back to the spare suit room. A freaking bat bit my arm last time.
Well, stop being delicious.
Red R begins by asking what Julia's doing in the cave, and then tells Batgirl and Red Hood that she's Alfred's daughter, as well as an SRS agent, even though that should be SRR. Gotta watch them typos, fellas. Red Hood seems surprised Alfred knocked somebody up, with B-Girl telling Jason to grow up. So is DC just trying to go for the dude bro demographic with Red Hood? Moving on. He calls her on using names in front of a spy, but since she's in the cave, Barb finds it a moot point, and formally introduces herself. Tim gets back on point, reminding us of Gordon remaining locked up, the riots, the highly advanced nanovirus he's barely cracked, and Alfred's condition. He feels it's a repeat of what happened with Joker's attack, from Death of the Family, that whomever's behind it attacked the one man that keeps them together. You don't think I realize that, Tim? You're talking about the man who raised me!
Other than my parents, and the slew of teachers and sensei I had while traveling the world learning the best ways to hurt people.
After a brief silence, Bruce says it's been Hush all along, and Tim asks how they can help. Hood points out the police are too passive to the riots, which Bruce explains as Hush owning the cops, through Commissioner Bard. Red Robin suggests checking if anyone in the riots may be working for Hush, egging things on. The problem will only escalate, and his allies will do what they can as they motorcycle out of the cave, but it's up to Bruce to stop his former friend. Julia asks about Hush, and Bruce takes her to someone they both need to see.
A therapist?
In a 2-page spread, Hush watches monitors observing the growing turmoil in Gotham. Captions give Jason Bard's speech noting the recent troubles the city has faced, and his failure to stop them. So far, it doesn't look like they went through with blaming him for destroying Bard's apartment and the whole attempted murder thing. They can't rely on the Bat anymore, but on themselves to fight their own demons. He officially declares martial law effective immediately. At a press conference in front of what looks like a cardboard sign with his name written on it, probably in the finest Sharpie markers they could find, he outlines the measures being taken, including but not limited to broadened police powers and jurisdiction, monitored city exits and entrances, a 9 p.m. curfew to be in effect for non-business activity, and that violators will immediately be sent to Blackgate for processing. These are only the first steps in taking the city back.
Later, we'll file down and cover all sharp objects. Bicycle gear will be forcibly worn at all times, and the only available TV shows to watch will be CBS sitcoms like The Big Bang Theory, which might actually just make people more violent.
Spoiler watches this on her phone, apparently a new one since the last one she had got trashed in issue 24, while riding on a state prison bus. On, not in. And by the looks of that crass tanker ship in the background, looks like the riots reached the sea. At Gotham Mercy Hospital, Batman and Julia watch over a bloated-looking Alfred, as the Dark Knight explains Tommy Elliot was a childhood friend. After his parents' death, Alfred would drive Tommy over to the manor, though Bruce didn't want to see anyone and pushed him away. One rainy night, Tommy came by and said his parents were in a car crash, and now they were the same. Yeesh. Smile like that, no wonder people think gingers have no soul. There is a deviation here from the previous continuity. Originally, Tommy did manage to sabotage his parents' car, but his mother was saved by Thomas Wayne. She lived on to berate and scold her son for not being more like Bruce Wayne, strengthening his animosity. It'd be years before Batman would find out that Tommy sabotaged his parents' car, but that he missed the little things because he was fighting what he was becoming.
Really? Are you sure you didn't find out about it earlier because you were, a child?
In high school, Tommy started dressing like Bruce, going after the same girls, but crossed a line claiming to be Bruce himself. When the real deal confronted him, Elliot tearfully says that Bruce can have anything he wants but does nothing, turning down what comes with his family name. Bruce tells him he doesn't understand, and orders him to stay away. Present-day Bruce goes on that there was a hatred beneath that admiration, that the Elliot name had become disgraced and their fortune lost. So Tommy wanted what Bruce had. We see young Tommy slam his face into a mirror, start bleeding, and wrap his head in gauze, now seeing an image of Bruce in the cracked glass. "I'm just like you, Bruce. I'm just like you."
And he still manages to get into med school. Good for him. Though, compared to his previous origin, I can't say I find this one much better or worse. Feels kind of tepid, though nothing particularly special about this reinvention.
The splash page shows a previous conflict between Hush and Batman, the former shooting at the latter atop a bridge, apparently in the daytime. And it's weird how the cowl ears have purple shading, mimicking actual bat ears almost. Bat says that when Tommy discovered his secret, he became something else too, wanting to take everything from Bruce, and the feeling that he's winning makes Batman afraid.
Yeah, you might be forced to call a bunch of your superpowered friends to spend 3 minutes finding Hush, calming the riots, rescuing Batwing and Corgan, and publicly revealing the evidence that would clear Jim Gordon. Scary.
Julia asks what Alfred would say at a time like this, and Batman replies that he'd recall the previous times Hush has been beaten, the meals skipped as a result, and that he's not alone. Julia tells Master Bruce that they have a bad guy to catch, accepting a role as part of Batman's fight. Meanwhile, incarcerated Arthur Brown is watching the riots when Spoiler walks in. Behind her, 2 guards are unconscious in the hall. Another guard sees her, reaches for a weapon, and is smacked by a folding chair. Awesome. Getting better at that.
Getting better at throwing collapsible metal furniture at guys just doing their jobs? Only in the New 52 is this considered an improvement.
I mean, forget for a second that she set it up so the state police, not the GCPD, caught her father. How is it this suburban girl just knows how to take out these trained guards? Also, keep your mask on. That place probably has cameras. She got in using a universal key she stole from lockup, whom she was spying on along with her dad's other buddies. Something we never saw. Again. She decks Arthur, for better focus, saying she's gathered information that even Batman doesn't seem to know, and wanted to see the look on Cluemaster's face when she posts it all online, making him a bigger joke than he was before. She hits send on her phone and shows it to her dad, only for him to call her a stupid brat, asking if she thought it'd be that easy. Steph checks her phone to find someone overwrote her post, now showing a $100 million bounty for the spoiler. I think this is the part where you start running, and you never, ever stop.
I know that sounded threatening, but look on the bright side. Good cardio.
Also, you gotta wonder just how they got that photo a spoiler for the bounty picture. I mean, they were always having trouble finding her even before she put the costume on. Batman's allies take on crime and the rioters while he tries searching for Hush, and Bard mobilizes the police force. At Gotham Mercy, a doctor and nurse have discovered Alfred is gone, moved to a different facility by Dr. Thomas Elliot. The new facility, Arkham Asylum. The first person he meets, Joker's daughter, saying he has a new master that can't wait to see him.
Okay, we're at the halfway point. We've gotten this far, people. Don't quit on me now. Those who already have are dead to us. They are as chaff separated from the wheat. Onward and that wayward. Wait a minute.
And lo, begins issue 27, Tim Seeley on script. Magpie is answering calls at Arkham Asylum with a greeting that would eventually rouse suspicion. Awfully calm for a place that Bard had previously claimed had been having riots. Beneath the facility, some inmates seem to have been altered by Deacon Blackfire. Killer Croc, though sympathetic to the black infection as he calls it, attacks because they're in the way of him finding one of his people. We jump to outside the GCPD, where two officers greet the departing Jason Bard, saying that the streets are getting crazier with each shift. He tells them that as cops, they're above it all and needn't fear the streets. As they leave, he unlocks his car, and a bat-shaped silhouette casts over him. Despite his tough talk, he's always checking shadows and recommends they talk man to Batman. Oh, we're gonna talk, but you'll wish it was Batman.
Whoa! Batgirl's confronting the man that refused to free her father. This is gonna be so...
Ah, dang it. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised at this point. In a place called the West Cauldron, which could be the house or just a nickname of the area, Child Social Services drops Jade off at her closest living relative's house, that of Dragos Ibanashu. Uncle, niece named Jade. I'm sure there's a Jackie Chan Adventures joke in there somewhere, but this series doesn't make me feel like looking for it. Dragos' house is filled with various animals, including a species of monkey which Jade takes a liking to. When the Child Services rep leaves, Dear Uncle shows his true colors by calling Jade some unsavory things, while saying he stole all the critters from Tiger Shark. Also, he steps in poop.
Ugh, I stepped in what Dan Didio is turning DC Comics into.
Ibanashu admits that Jade's value has recently appreciated, and otherwise he would have left her to rot, as she's as much trouble as her mother was. And for some reason, Dragos has an Infinite Crisis arcade driving game. A fun little Easter egg, I guess. An underling calls, saying to check the feed. Their drop for someone called the Ferryman for tunnel access was interrupted by a group of Ukrainians called the Whisper Gang, and then by someone Jade knows. Catwoman. Also Batman, with him taking the gun-toting Ibanashu men, and Catwoman dealing with the all-female blade-wielding Whispers. She mentions having taken pole dancing lessons because DC doesn't think she's been fetishized enough. Bats interrogates a man for Hush's whereabouts, and somewhat amusingly swings him around to take out two others trying to creep behind him. Penguin locked up in his casino underwater occupied by gambling-addicted fishes. Only Dragos is capable of acquiring the kind of weaponry Hush would need, working alongside ferrymen through the tunnels in the East End. The man pleads that it's not them, since the gang war left second-tier crews scrambling. thieves stealing from each other and not going out on big jobs. Hush's equipment and manpower isn't coming from the harbor or East End. It's like they got their own personal Santa Claus.
He knows when you are stealing. He knows when you're on parole. He knows if you've got guns or knives to kill somebody cold. Oh!
A brief stop at Child Services sees Leslie Tompkins talking with the guy that dropped Jade off. While suspicious of Dragos, the other side of Jade's family isn't much better, saying she was born into crime. When a window breaks, Leslie assumes it's a kid messing around, but surprisingly enough, that large scaly hand busting through the wall and grabs her is actually Killer Croc. He demands to know where Jade McKillen is, as he believes he's her only true provider. Tompkins, on a first-name basis with scale britches apparently, says she was sent to Ibanashu, her family. Now, Leslie, I'm her family now.
Reunions are filled with awkward questions. Seriously, though, I don't hate the idea of making Croc a bit more human, not only visually, but in his personality. Though I don't think it needed a reboot. There could have been another way to work that into a pre-52 universe. But making villains more heroic seems to be its own growing cliche, especially where DC is concerned. It's happened to a bunch of them. And another point is, why does someone like Killer Croc get his pathos while someone like Mr. Freeze lost his, much to his detriment?
Leaving the train tunnel, Batman tells Penny 2 that the drop was interrupted. Look close and you can see Catwoman holding a duffel bag full of money. But there's no point in bringing in Ibanashu's men when the cops aren't interested and no gangs have info on Hush. One of the questions it raises, though, is how the Whispers knew about the drop. Catwoman says it was her that informed them and is gone in the next panel, then seen atop a crane delighting over the money she's claimed. Batman catches up, telling her that she can't do that. Not his trademark disappearing act, but causing chaos, playing gangs against each other. It makes it harder to find Hush, and while he's aware of her apparent history with ferrymen, there are bigger things than vendettas. She says that's the bat calling the cat black.
Yeah, it is a clever line, but the more I think about it, the more it makes me miss Black Bat. I sincerely hope they never reinvent Cassie Kane. Huh? Was that? Never mind, I think this review is just making me hallucinate.
Selena says that despite his time on the streets, there was already chaos, which the safety of his bat hole made him blind to. She's just taking advantage of it. Go rationalization! But Bats has ruined the fun, so she slides him the money and suggests he donate it to Child Services. Really prevalent this issue, ain't it, folks? Bats says he needs her cooperation, that in times like this, all they have is each other. Catwoman doesn't buy into the mantra like the Bat family, saying she prefers her independence. However, the look on her face could equally be annoyance or denial of letting someone get close.
Or gas. It could be gas.
At the Moffat building, a rocky-looking gentleman in a pinstripe suit called Mr. Bone notes the audacity that Dragos Ibanashu would have to meet with him, saying to cross the River Styx, you have to pay the ferryman. This issue made me think Bone and ferryman were two separate characters. That line could easily be used by a lackey if he worked for a guy that called himself the ferryman. Feels a little sloppy when they could have easily cleared any confusion up with a caption, but I guess they expect you to already know who this guy is going in. Dragos has brought along Jade, who we learn is the last of the McKillens, an Irish family who own a lot of land. On top of that, she may be able to lead them to someone who once beat Bone near to death. Catwoman. Would have been nice if they'd indicated for non-Catwoman readers that this beating took place in her own title, and it's just that character we jump to as she talks to a stray cat on a rooftop. She essentially projects herself onto a little quadruped, looking down upon the city to put things in perspective, musing she shouldn't have left things with Batman the way she did. At first thinking she should try finding his cave, she decides to let him come to her. I like the way you think. You're coming home with me.
You don't tell me to get a shrink like all the other cats.
At a massage parlor of questionable legitimacy, a new customer walks in. Killer Croc, Knowing the shop is an Ibanashu front, he starts questioning the receptionist for his location so he can get one of his own tribe back. Jump to Batman in the Batmobile as Penny 2 eggs him on about his relationship issues. He passes an alley where Spoiler is lurking, holding up her phone. Right on time. Eventually, someone passes Bats on the road. The notorious, lobotomized, freelance, face-eating assassin, Flamingo. Not many people can truthfully fit all that into one business card. Having noticed each other, they turn their vehicles around and charge. He wants to play. I don't. Bats extends a trip line from one of his wheels, which, upon contact, hurls Flamingo and his bike into the air until they land just past the alley where Spoiler is writing something down. Bats feels a little better now, approaching the dazed but alive killer with a note left on his person. The note tells of a Bat Tracker hashtag used by fans and criminals to post sightings of the Caped Crusader across social media. Someone so inclined could use this to predict his appearances. Batman is thanked for stopping Flamingo, who was intent on killing her, and that while saying hi would be nice, there's other things to do. Signed, The Spoiler, whom we see swinging high above the city.
Impressive that she's become so adept at traveling the city by swing line in her weeks on the run. Or more accurately, convenient.
Hey, remember when the confrontation between Bard and Batgirl was set up early in this issue? Well, we get a whole page to expand on it. The second to last page. B-Girl is dangling the current commish upside down, standard Bat procedure, waking him up with a splash of water. I guess he lost consciousness along the way, and she was just carrying it around. He finds himself way high up when he's asked why Jim Gordon is still in jail, after Bard was given evidence to clear him. He scoffs at Batgirl, so far as to say her name in quotes, as he's lived through everything the city has thrown at him since his arrival. She suggests he's been wrong before. Yeah? About what? In your position, you should be afraid of the street. She releases her hold on the line, evoking a look of terror on Bard's face.
And if he dies, they'll probably name the street after him. But more because there'll be so much of him smeared on it.
The final page sees Catwoman at home, introducing her latest feline acquisition to the rest of her clowder, real term for a group of cats. She hears her stereo playing and readies her whip until she finds Jade alone in her living room, crying. She says the girl could have used the front door, but the loud music was so Selina wouldn't hear the guy with the baseball bat behind her. The Skull Man made me do it.
Now, given the way this series has been paced, you would think that this is the time we jump to a completely new scene, but it's actually the end of the issue, and thus the end of this episode. Tune in next time to see if they actually expand on what happens next, or if they just give us a 2-page title spread of someone talking about the incident.